The Hobbit, The Desolation of Smaug isn't just a fantasy adventure, it's a cinematic journey that pushed the boundaries of filmmaking. But what makes these sequences truly unforgettable isn't just CGI, it's the clever combination of practical sets, digital artistry, and hundreds of hours of stunt work. So in today's video, we're diving behind the scenes of this beautiful film and uncover how the makers brought this iconic movie to life. Let's begin with the haunting beauty of Mirkwood Forest. Remember the moment Gandalf leads Bilbo and the dwarves from Beorn's house to the edge of that endless enchanted forest? On screen, Mirkwood feels alive, twisting trees, eerie light, and lurking dangers. But in reality, this mystical jungle was a blend of green screen wizardry and partial practical sets. Entire clusters of trees, rocks, and webs were built inside the studio, while the endless forest depth was digitally extended. And the sequence where giant spiders trap the dwarves in their webs? In the BTS footage, you can see the practical setup for this scene, while VFX artists and CGI teams later extended the jungle and added giant CGI spiders into an eerie magical labyrinth that looked endless on screen. One of the most thrilling sequences comes when the dwarves attempt their daring escape from the elven prison, hiding inside barrels as they float downriver. Just as they think they're safe, Ozog's orc army attacks, and a brutal three-way battle erupts between orcs, dwarves, and woodland elves like Legolas and Tauriel. What looks like a sprawling riverside battle was actually split into multiple controlled sets. Inside the studio, massive rock walls, tree trunks, and green screen backdrops recreated different sections of the jungle. Actors performed their fight choreography against orc stuntmen right there on the stage. To make it convincing, the team used prop weapons, rubber, and green poles for digital blades or bows. Later, VFX artists replaced them with fully rendered weapons, sparks, and combat effects. And those terrifying orc soldiers, many were played by stunt performers in full prosthetic suits. But to give variety, dozens of orc faces were digitally replaced in post-production so that every creature looked uniquely grotesque. Not every location in The Hobbit exists in real life, and Gandalf's journey to Dol Guldur is the perfect example. When Gandalf ventures into the dark mountain cave, the environment is a mix of practical set design and digital wizardry. The cave and mountain interiors were a hybrid creation. Large stone walls, broken ruins, and parts of the cavern floor were built practically inside the studio, where Ian McKellen's performance was surrounded by eerie props. Later, VFX extended the set into vast, endless caverns. But here's the twist, the glowing light from Gandalf's staff wasn't just CGI. The staff was rigged with practical lighting, so when McKellen raised it to illuminate the ruins, the glow was real. This gave the scene an authentic atmosphere. Light actually bounced off the walls and Gandalf's face before being enhanced digitally in post-production. After escaping Mirkwood, Bilbo and the dwarves arrive at Lake Town, a floating settlement built entirely over water. On screen, it looks massive, lived in, and completely real, but you won't believe this. This wasn't all just CGI. The crew built a sprawling practical set in Wellington on top of a man-made lake. Wooden stilts, piers, docks, and entire buildings were constructed to bring Lake Town to life. Shops were filled with ropes, fish barrels, vegetables, pottery, and weathered wood, down to the smallest detail. As you can see in this BTS, every detail was carefully crafted, including fishmongers' stalls, weathered ropes, hanging nets, pottery, smoke, and aged timber, all added layers of lived-in realism. The art department constructed 50 unique buildings, 8 bridges, and 6 towers. Over 2 million planks of wood and 5 million roof tiles were used for this setup. Lake Town wasn't just a backdrop, it was an immersive world that actors could actually live and perform in. Now let's talk about one of the most iconic and fan favorite moments in The Hobbit, The Desolation of Smaug, the barrel escape sequence. If you remember, Bilbo Baggins bravely helps the dwarves escape from the elven prison, hiding them inside barrels that float down a raging river. What looks like a seamless high-stakes escape on screen actually took an enormous amount of planning and filming. The production team shot nearly 98 hours of footage for this single sequence, combining real river locations, aerial shots, green screen studio work, and heavy CGI enhancements. In fact, it took 4 full days of shooting across 3 different rivers to capture the natural rapids and authentic water movement. On top of that, they recorded 11 hours of aerial drone footage and over 35 hours of dry set green screen tank shots, all of which were later blended together. But here's the fascinating part. For many of the close-up shots, the team didn't just rely on CGI. They actually built a massive water tank inside a studio, complete with a water flow system to mimic river rapids. Inside the setup, the actors playing the dwarves physically climbed into barrels and performed their scenes surrounded by green screens, artificial rocks, and staged obstacles. Of course, not everything was shot indoors. Some sequences were captured in real outdoor rivers where the cast had to perform inside actual barrels floating in moving water. Later, these real and staged shots were seamlessly combined, creating the thrilling and chaotic sequence that we saw on screen. And then, of course, comes the epic orc attack during the escape. Behind the scenes, this fight was filmed in a highly controlled environment. Stunt performers acted as orcs, using soft rubber weapons to keep the fight safe. For specific shots, especially close combat moments, some performers wore motion capture suits and full green suits, allowing the VFX team to digitally replace them with terrifying orc warriors. Later in post-production, the weapons, armor, and orc designs were fully enhanced with CGI, making the action look brutal and realistic. Within the same sequence, there's another jaw-dropping moment fans absolutely love. Legolas jumping on the dwarves' heads when they're in barrels while fighting with the orcs. On screen, it looks like an ordinary display of agility, but behind the scenes, it was a clever mix of practical stunt work and visual effects. To achieve this, the crew built a flat studio surface with bumpy barrel-shaped props that mimic the movement of floating barrels. Orlando Bloom, who plays Legolas, performed many of the action beats himself on this rink, jumping, balancing, and fighting in real time. His moves were later digitally composited over shots of the dwarves floating in the river. For some of the more dangerous moves, like extended jumps and complex fight choreography, Bloom's stunt double stepped in. Wires and harnesses were also used to ensure safety during the leaps, which were carefully removed in post-production. The result was a sequence where Legolas looks like he's effortlessly gliding across barrels in a raging river while cutting down orc after orc. When we talk about The Hobbit, The Desolation of Smaug, how could we not mention the most iconic character of them all, the dragon himself, Smaug? Bringing this fiery beast to life was no ordinary task. The filmmakers used a multi-step process that blended performance, technology, and artistry. Benedict Cumberbatch, the voice of Smaug, didn't just record lines in a studio, he actually suited up in a motion capture rig, crawling and twisting across the stage to mimic the dragon's movements. His facial expressions were tracked in real time, giving animators a living, breathing reference for Smaug's personality. From that performance, Weta Digital crafted a hyper-detailed 3D model built with over 300 digital bones, more than 100 simulated muscles, and thousands of individually designed scales. Because the film was released in 3D, scale and depth became major challenges. Every shot had to be fine-tuned for parallax and perspective, ensuring that Smaug didn't just look massive on screen, he felt enormous, terrifying, and real. Next, we step into the enchanted world of the elves. Deep within Mirkwood Forest lies the hidden underground kingdom ruled by Thranduil, the Elven King. To capture its majestic beauty, the production team relied heavily on practical sets. In the behind-the-scenes footage, we can see parts of the Woodland Kingdom being built inside a studio, towering archways, golden-lit halls, and carved stone details that gave the environment an ancient yet elegant touch. Actors performed their scenes within these sets, surrounded by intricate craftsmanship, while VFX extended the kingdom far beyond the walls of the stage. This blend of practical design and digital artistry allowed the Woodland realm to feel both magical and believable on screen. One of the film's most visually stunning sequences takes place inside Smaug's treasure hoard. For this, the filmmakers combined practical set pieces with massive amounts of CGI. Inside Wellington Studios, the crew built sections of the cave, including enormous stone pillars, uneven rocky floors, and even piles of real gold-like props and coins. These practical elements gave Martin Freeman, Bilbo Baggins, a physical environment to interact with, grounding his performance in something tangible. But the true scale of the treasure, endless mountains of gold, shimmering coins, and Smaug's lair stretching into darkness, was created digitally. Weta's VFX artists multiplied the treasure beyond what was physically possible, transforming a partial set into an overwhelming ocean of riches. The result was a breathtaking mix of practical and digital wizardry that made the dragon's lair unforgettable. While many scenes relied on sets and CGI, the filmmakers also took cameras into actual forests to capture the natural beauty of Middle-earth. Some sequences in Mirkwood were shot outdoors under real sunlight, with actors performing in genuine woodland settings. Of course, the production team modified some parts of these forests to match the script's vision, adding set pieces or enhancing the environment in post-production. This balance between real-world landscapes, carefully built sets, and digital artistry gave The Hobbit: The Desolation of Smaug its signature authenticity, making the fantasy world feel like a place that truly exists just beyond our own. And that's it for today's video, you guys. If you enjoyed this deep dive into the magic behind The Hobbit, don't forget to hit that like button, subscribe, and ring the bell so you never miss more behind-the-scenes secrets from your favorite films. Share this video with your friends and family, and let's keep the magic alive together.